As part of this month's Miracle or Two monthly marquee, we're celebrating the heartfelt stories of Listen to Your Mother by Ann Imig. This inspiring live storytelling series gave motherhood a microphone, sharing true tales that explore the hilarious, heartwarming, and profound moments of mothering. We spoke with the creator, Ann, to learn more about the inspiration, the community connections, and the magic behind this storytelling phenomenon. So here we are with Ann Imig, and we're going to hear a lot about Listen to Your Mother today, an amazing show that Ann started from scratch. It's a fascinating story. But let's hear a little bit about you, Ann. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I'm a multi-hyphenate creative person. I'm a writer, speaker, performer. I'm a mom. I have two young adult sons, and I live in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wonderful. Two adult sons. Do they listen to their mother?
Young adult sons, and they do. They're great humans.
that's, I'm not surprised. Let's start by you telling us a little bit about Listen to Your Mother and how you might describe it to somebody who's never seen it, never uh, had it explained to them, especially for the new theaters that would be interested in doing this show.
It's a celebration of true stories of motherhood, the beauty, the beast, and the barely rested, I like to say. And it involves everyone because everyone either had a mom or had somebody that raised them. They are a mom or they were not a mom. They decided they didn't want to be a mom. Like motherhood profoundly impacts everyone. It's universal.
It sure is. And it sounds to me like because of this universal, it's relatable on so many different levels. Can you tell us about how it reaches audiences and changes them?
Absolutely. So the show started with your friends, your neighbors, just regular everyday people getting up on stage and sharing their story, that story that calls to them. And the way they know so many people, the way they realize that they have a story to tell, they go see a Listen to Your Mother show. They listen to stories, whether they are about being a mom, having a mom, missing your mom, um, being a parent, being a dad, adoption, infertility, humorous stories. You laugh, you cry till you laugh, and everyone is buzzing in the lobby afterward. If you go to a show, you hear people in the restroom afterward on their way out saying, well, if I were to get up there, and then that's what happens. And in fact, I've had somebody just recently want to do the show because years ago, probably 10 years ago, she saw the show with her mom in Nashville, and it started a conversation between them of something they had never talked about before. And it changed their relationship forever.
Wow, that's what it's about. It's live theater having that kind of impact and again, changing people's lives for the better. So it's so interesting to me how this show evolved and became a show in the first place. Can you tell us a little bit about the genesis and how, what that process was or the epiphany that all of a sudden, hey, we got a show here.
Oh, I would love to. So I was one of those lucky women who were part of the mom blogging generation. We were all raising children and getting through sort of the pathos of those days, the stress, the craziness by writing through it. And what happened then, you could call us the early influencers, but it wasn't about products or selling anything. It was about writing our stories, and we all put up these websites where we would visit each other, read each other's stories, leave a little comment, and community was born. And so women all over the world and men too, everyone started connecting around writing and storytelling and just relating in these little pockets started to appear. The humorists found each other, the homeschoolers found each other, the special needs parents found each other, adoption, there are all these pockets. And I went to a blog conference, that was a thing. And I saw this event of people just reading their writing. And as a theater person, I had been an actor, I still am an actor. And as a social worker, I have a master's in social work. I was so moved by the simplicity of people reading their stories at a microphone, no costumes, no sets. And the audience was with every single word. And because of this unique background I have, I went back to my hometown of Madison, Wisconsin, and thought, I want to do this. And the timing was just such that it was a couple months before Mother's Day. I did have a marketing background, and I saw, wait a minute, Mother's Day deserves more than brunch. And moreover, I wanted a community event where people can come together and celebrate motherhood. And a show was born. And because I had a little bit of an online following, people saw what I was doing and they wanted to do it too. And so we just really quickly tried to figure out how to do that.
That's incredible. And uh, the success of the show speaks to kind of, I think, the authenticity of the storytelling, right? Potentially. It's like this is impactful because it's true.
It's true.
And we always try in the theater, right? We always say, let's find what is, let's be sure that this story that we're telling, however we're telling it, be a musical, is completely authentic or feels completely authentic. Well, yours is kind of built in with this concept. It's very exciting.
Absolutely. It had to be a true story.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of seeing Listen to Your Mother performed? I mean, you could look at it through the eyes of you as a creator, but you could also look at it through the eyes of the audience you see watching it.
That's what it's all about. And never a more important time for this show because what it is people coming together, hopefully from all different parts of their community, maybe people who don't normally sit together in the quiet. There's no comment section, Ray. You just listen. You just
You can't
listen to the
like or
stories. You
unlike or any
can't
of that.
like or dislike. And so often, what will happen is somebody comes on stage and they share a story, and you're so surprised about this person's past or what they're bringing to the stage. And maybe you see a little piece of yourself. You know, there are some people who will never get up on stage, but the power of having a similar story to what they've gone through, maybe something they've never shared. And maybe it's the funniest rendition of that experience they've never even considered. And just being together and experiencing that, it builds community in such a divisive time. It's never more important.
Yeah. Oh God, that's powerful. It's beautiful. Um, so let's talk about how a theater might do this show. So, in essence, what makes Listen to Your Mother a great choice for theaters? Is it the ease of doing it, the simplicity of that?
Yes.
Is it bringing people into the theater that otherwise might not even be there? So
Yes,
they're
yes.
garnering a new audience. They're garnering new performers, perhaps for their talent pool. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, depending on how you want to do it, you can do it with actors, just a few actors who can pull from a whole series of monologues that have been curated from the show and put together their own show. You could have
Mhm.
those actors tell their own motherhood stories, and put together this beautiful quilt of all the various experiences. And if you bring community members in, they bring their families, especially if they're people who've maybe never been on stage before. It's a big deal.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I do love how it's a departure from maybe the typical season that someone might be doing, and all of a sudden, what are we doing in this spring slot of Mother's Day? Of course, that's a great fit. But it sounds to
Perfect.
me like it can happen any time of year, I would guess.
Absolutely. There are cities that have been doing it for 15 years at this point.
Amazing.
And sometimes they do
Amazing.
more than one show a year. They'll do a holiday theme show or a back to school theme show. Sometimes people use it as a fundraiser. It's just so limitless in how you can use it and who you can include.
So let's also talk about what gets delivered to a producer, let's say, a theater that wants to do this, a group that wants to do this as a fundraiser or whatever. What package do they get to make this easy for them?
Yeah, they get a guidebook of how to put the show together, how to make that beautiful quilt where you're not giving an audience emotional whiplash. You want the humor, you want the heart, but you don't want an audience. trying to hold on and keep their hands inside the cart at all times, right? So just sort of those bridge pieces, we used to call them. So everything from how to hold auditions, if this is somebody who's never done something like this before, to here's what you need for somebody who could do this in their sleep. It just be easy for them. And like I said, there is an option where you can get 30 different pieces for people to pull from that have been specifically picked because of their good fit for the stage. And they can have a few actors, as few as a couple or maybe four pull from these already true stories and have a really simple, just microphone podium. They can do what they want. It's very open, but it's very simple and doable. And then if they want more of like a coach, I'm actually a coach, I'm a life coach. And there's myself and others who've done the show that they could hire more consulting or directing help if they needed it. It's really just built for whatever people need.
That's great. And that's the kind of thing that theater owners and producers love to hear is like, okay, this is doable. I can do this. It sounds like something I've never done before, but now it sounds simple and doable. Um, and if do you have one favorite moment or anecdote from the many versions of the shows you've been a part of or seen?
Well, it has to be that one recently that I just shared of,
Yeah.
the way the show has changed people's lives. And I mean, there's people who have run for office who, because
Oh,
they were in the show, because they got on that podium and they saw how their story mattered to people, um, there are people who have become, even children who have become advocates as a result of having their own experience shared in the LGBTQ community. I can't even begin to quantify the way this show impacts people and changes their lives. And I will say there's something really special about having those pieces from the community in which they are performing. So while this catalogs exist that people can pull from, what really brings people to the theater is that homegrown element.
well, this piece has done so well, and we're Miracle or Two Productions and licensing is just thrilled to be a part of it. Um, Thank you so much, Anne, for all of this. And I've got to say, it just seems so empowering, this show, and it's in some ways, in ways you don't expect. The story you tell about a mother and daughter talking about something they'd never talked about before and coming out the other side probably closer than ever. Those are beautiful and powerful stories. I would love to delve and know more about that story, but I'm sure it's private, so we won't. But that is a beautiful thing when that can happen. I also love the idea that people that find themselves on stage telling their own personal story maybe also find, instead of trying to find their uh, you know, being on social media and all of that, to do something and find your voice in real time in 3 dimension with real people in the room with you.
I'm so glad
That's
you
how,
said that
yeah.
because a big tradition in Listen to Your Mother has been raising money for nonprofits. A portion of the ticket proceeds from almost every show have gone to a local nonprofit supporting the most vulnerable women and families in their community. And often we invite those causes in to share the podium, fundraise day of show. We really use this as a vehicle to build our communities, improve our communities, and just garner connection, whether it's in your own family or in your town or across the world.
Yeah, and again, I think us finding ourselves in the room with each other again, even though we're doing this on Zoom, so apologies there, I guess. But is also uh, and especially people that may not necessarily even consider being on a stage. Maybe it's just not who they are, and yet when they're telling their story, they find themselves in this wonderful space called the theater.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And then people realize they leave they leave the theater feeling a little less alone, a little more seen. And those people, some of them who their biggest fear is public speaking, their compulsion to be known and to tell their story. People get on show day, they can be so nervous. And my biggest advice for them is like, let go of practicing, let go of perfection. Just think about that one point that you want to tell that somebody so needs to hear in the audience, or that laugh that somebody needs so badly today. And that's all that matters.
That's wonderful. Is there anything else that you'd like to that we didn't talk about today that you'd like to tell us about your experience with Listen to Your Mother, or something that you'd love for our audience to be sure that they know about Listen to Your Mother?
Absolutely. A couple things. If people want to get familiar with the show, this book still exists. It was published 10 years ago, Listen to Your Mother, and it really represents the heart of the program, the heart of the project. And you can get that from your library or go pick up a copy for yourself. And also, there's still a YouTube channel, LTYM Show on YouTube. We have 2,000 stories. And that's not a new channel, but you can search by topic everything from humor, adoption, infertility, grandparents, LGBTQ, like the sky's the limit. And you can see a little bit of your own story there. So those are some resources if people want to become a little more familiar with sort of the heart of the project and what it can look like. I mean, there are people who have done successful shows who started who had never produced an event before and are still doing it, more than a decade later and are filling their theaters. There's a team in Twin Cities. They fill a 800 seat theater every time they do the show. It's wild. These are not people who had ever produced shows before. They're not theater people. So between, the award-winning book, the YouTube channel, shows all over the country. If they can do it, you can do it. Certainly, established theater will be able to do that in their sleep in a good way.
Right, and no, and probably in the best way that works for them quite easily. The way you put
Yes.
this together with the resources, the YouTube channel, the this, the that, so they know what they're doing.
And local businesses love to be a part of this too, in terms of funding it. We have people working with local sponsors. Communities love the show.
Oh, that's just wonderful, and I'm just not surprised because you've taken such care of it as it's grown and grown and grown. And how many productions have there been across this country of the
It's so
show?
funny. I've lost count, but certainly it's been in 70 cities, and it just keeps
Wow,
going. Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, again, Ann, thank you so much for being here. And Miracle or Two Licensing is so proud to be a part of this beautiful show. Um, and thank you for all the time and energy you put into it. It certainly has paid off.
Well, you've enabled it to have a new life, and I hope it just continues to reach more and more people in cities. So thanks so much, Ray, and to you and Jim. Thanks.
A big thanks to Ann Imig for sharing the story behind Listen to Your Mother. If you're interested in bringing this heartfelt and entertaining show to your stage, visit miracleor2.com. Stay tuned for more features in our Miracle or Two monthly Marquee series.